The Changelings story begins in the comic Fiendship is Magic 5. A magic tree grows in a swamp, where it comes into contact with a fly and the skull of a unicorn. The tree then produces a swarm of changelings, shape-shifting creatures whose default form has the wings and skin of a fly with the body and horn of a unicorn. Changelings did not originally have holes. Celestia blasted them into the changelings during the siege on Trot. The commonly accepted explanation for this is that Chrysalis is the mother of all changelings, and the blast affected her DNA, so all of her children were born with holes. I don't think that's true. The insect part of changelings comes from flies, and flies are not eusocial insects. Eusocial insect colonies, like ants, have a queen, sterile female workers, and male drones. Flies, on the other hand, have no colonies. They do not cooperate, and all female flies have the ability to reproduce. I believe changelings fall into the second category. Chrysalis didn't call herself a queen at first. She gives herself the title after defeating King Orion and stealing his crown. This suggests that Chrysalis is a queen in the context of monarchy, not eusociality. If she's the mother of all changelings, she would have been queen from the start. Thorax and Pharynx call each other brothers. If changelings were eusocial, all changelings would have the same mother, and all male changelings would have no father, coming from unfertilized eggs. The distinction of siblings would apply to all changelings equally, and they wouldn't need to use the word. The one thing that can make Thorax and Pharynx more closely related than any two changelings is if they were born from the same egg, making them identical twins. But look at them, they're not identical twins. Ocellus is part of a nuclear family, two parents and their child and/or children. Ocellus is a changeling we only see after Reformation, but she was born before it and remembers living under the rule of Queen Chrysalis.
Maybe my past was so horrible, it's still inside me just waiting to come out again.
While Chrysalis still ruled the changelings, Ocellus was born to two parents, neither of which was Chrysalis. But wait, Chrysalis has drones, and the changelings clearly have a colony. Not to mention, where did the holes come from if the changelings aren't Chrysalis's children? I believe that changelings are a prosocial species, not a eusocial one. This means that, while their biology does not compel them to cooperate, they do it anyway. Similar to ponies, changelings live together in harmony, but unlike ponies, all changelings share a common problem, the need to feed on love. Working together under the rule of the most powerful changeling helps all changelings achieve that goal. The word drone is just that, a word, probably chosen by Chrysalis to assert her power over her subjects, or to imply to the rest of the world that changelings are eusocial and Chrysalis has more power than she actually does.
I didn't think you were worth replacing with one of my drones.
That leaves the problem of the holes. Let's take a closer look at this book. Dramatic permanent damage, Celestia to changelings, holes to limbs, and horn. The illustration shows Chrysalis, but the text talks about changelings as a whole. I think this blast targeted every changeling, and the holes were then passed down through generations. That leaves one last problem. Chrysalis has been alive for 1,000 years. She looks different from every other changeling, having a stature closer to that of Celestia. If she's not the biological hive queen, there must be something else that differentiates her from her subjects. The most likely explanation for this comes from an unexpected source, the Kirin. Kirin, changelings, and ponies all have the same basic body shape. Rainshine, the leader of the Kirin, is much larger than the others and has the body type of Celestia and Chrysalis. We see countless adult Kirin, but only one of them looks like that. I believe that these species have someone biologically destined to be their leader. When we look at Celestia and Luna's past, we see that they are set on the path to leadership due to their innate magic abilities to control the sun and moon. They later use their magic to artificially turn Twilight into an alicorn to replace them, giving her the same body type. But without that intentional intervention, the ruler of the ponies would be determined by their powerful natural ability. I think the same is true for the changelings and the Kirin. A random member of the species is much stronger than the others, caused either by random mutation or intelligent design. This makes the other members of the species naturally defer to the individual most equipped to lead, which goes a long way to prevent infighting and civil war. To recap, here's the evidence for and against changeling eusociality. For me, the conclusion is clear. Changelings reproduce normally, the same way humans do, even before Reformation. It's been 3 weeks since I wrote part 1. I found this scene of Thorax's birth, and it single-handedly destroys my argument. Even if these eggs came from different parents, there would be no way for Thorax and Pharynx to know that they're related. They were born at the same time, making them broodmates, but so were dozens of other changelings. Pharynx was probably drawn to Thorax specifically because Thorax was so different from the others, and Pharynx took it upon himself to protect him and whip him into shape. Without that core piece of evidence, the facts in favor of eusociality outweigh the ones against it. The changelings have transcended their origin as flies and introduced eusociality as a new variable in their biology. Eusociality is a powerful structure that elevates the queen and increases the power of the hive. This could originate from the tree that produced the changelings, making the tree the original hive queen, or it could be an intentional decision by the changelings to shape their bodies to become eusocial. Chrysalis's title is a language discrepancy. In the world of sapient life, queen is used to mean monarch, not mother, so that's how Chrysalis uses it too. The Changeling Reformation introduces a slew of biological changes that could explain Acellus's position, and I'll get into that in Part 3. Eusocial insect species are arenitocous, meaning unfertilized eggs produce male drones, and fertilized eggs produce female workers. Drones' sole purpose is to mate, but not with their own queen. They get sent out into the world to mate with a queen from another colony. Changelings only have one colony, and its drones stick around to do jobs typically done by workers. Normally, the queen isn't immortal, and there exists some procedure to grow a female larva into a new queen. Changelings, on the other hand, have only ever had one queen. With no need for workers or a new queen, and no other colonies to provide Chrysalis with a mate, I think all of Chrysalis's subjects are drones. We do see female changelings after they reform, which means that a large chunk of the changeling population becomes transgender. They are changelings, so it's not that unlikely. If this is true, it has a startling implication. Chrysalis does not fuck. In the Friendship is Magic universe, love is a substance that exists in the real world. Love can be created the same way it is in real life, when someone cares about someone else. It works the same way in reverse. Having a surplus of love can make someone care about someone else. As a species of animal that came from a plant, Changeling's origin has no emotions and certainly no love. In Equestria, love is a fundamental force to support sapient life. Because of this, Changelings have the unique ability to steal love from other creatures. Changelings feed on this love and are always starving, meaning they destroy or otherwise dispose of the love when feeding. Changelings do not know how to create love themselves and don't consider it a possibility. Being starving could make the changelings weak. They rely on subterfuge, numbers, and the ability to steal love, weakening their opponent. During the first changeling attack, the main six win a fight against changelings despite being greatly outnumbered, and are only captured after encountering an overwhelming amount of changelings. Feeding on love powered up Chrysalis, enabling her to beat Celestia.
Shining Armor's love for you is even stronger than I thought. Consuming it has made me even more powerful than Celestia!
Chrysalis is overconfident, having fully drained Shining Armor and being at her most powerful. She is ultimately defeated when Cadence and Shining Armor create more love together to power a protection spell.
My love will give you strength.
Love could be considered a type of power source. Cadence, the Princess of Love, and changelings who feed on love can both intentionally use love in this way, whereas other ponies think of love more normally as an emotion. Side note, this same spell is later performed by Twilight and Starlight to defeat some Puckwudgies. Does this mean they're secretly engaged? I won't rule it out. But also, love isn't just shared between romantic partners. People also have love for their friends and family, and that love is the same substance as romantic love. When Thorax, a defective changeling, meets Spike, he starts to care about someone and produces his own love for the first time. This is able to satiate him much more than an external source of love. He no longer feels like he's starving, and his appearance begins to change. We saw how powerful Chrysalis was after feeding on a lot of love. In this case, Thorax is also being powered up by love. That's not an ability unique to Chrysalis, it's simply a part of changeling biology. During the second changeling attack, Chrysalis attempts to secure a reliable source of love by replacing the princesses and the main six. During their rescue attempt, Starlight and Thorax tell the changelings about another reliable source of love, creating it for themselves. Chrysalis shuts this down. She's the leader of the changelings, she executed her plan successfully, and she doesn't want her subjects to listen to someone who might help them more than she has. She tries to steal Thorax's love, and Starlight tells him to share his love with her. My theory is that sharing love is what happens whenever people love each other. When you love someone, you give them some of your love, and that creates more love. Unlike other creatures, changelings consciously interact with the physical substance of love, so they would need to actively make the decision to share it. Because changelings are constantly starved for love, none of them had ever willingly given it up before. When Thorax shares his love with Chrysalis, the mechanics work out the same as if he was in love, and the action produces more love, faster than Chrysalis can steal it. As shown before, this love powers him up, enabling him to create and share more love in a feedback loop. This ultimately results in him being powered up enough to metamorphose.
This is what happens when you give love freely instead of taking it!
A Upon seeing this, the other changelings realize Starlight was right. They can create their own love and no longer be constantly starving. Throughout the show, the only goal changelings had was to feed, to sate their never-ending hunger. They see a way to create more sustenance in an easier way, and all take it immediately. All of them except one. Chrysalis sees that her subjects have achieved their ultimate goal without her. She sees Starlight not as the savior of her people, but as the one who defeated her and stole her people from her. So when it's Starlight who offers her the chance to share love, her mind first goes to revenge. To take advantage of the free unlimited food that Starlight and Thorax discovered would be to admit that her enemy was right and she was wrong. The newly reformed changelings create a new society with Thorax as their leader. The biggest change he makes is that changelings no longer steal love, and instead eat real food. It's unclear as to why they ate food, considering Thorax was fully satiated on love before he reformed.
I have indigestion. I'm not sure if it's the new diet or stress, or maybe it's both.
The first thing to note about this is changelings could always eat food, they just chose not to. I think this is because their bodies wouldn't metabolize the food, meaning they wouldn't get anything useful out of eating. Their bodies needed love to survive, and in its absence were very low on energy. This caused their bodies to dedicate all their energy to consuming more love and dedicate no energy to eating food. From an evolutionary standpoint, there's no reason for changelings to have a digestive system they don't use, but we have to remember, changelings didn't evolve. They were created based on aspects of a fly and a unicorn, both of which have a digestive system. Getting all their energy from love was enough for changelings to survive, but lacked the vitamins and macronutrients that food provides. Their bodies probably lacked useful features enabled by these nutrients, such as strong muscles. When they gained access to a plentiful source of love, their bodies no longer needed to focus solely on getting it. Typically, a metamorphosis in insects signals moving on to the next stage of life, a grub turning into an adult, a caterpillar turning into a butterfly. But these changelings were already adults, and changelings in the past lived their whole lives without metamorphosing. That's because this transformation is not one of growth, but one of adaptation. Changelings are a species defined by their ability to change form. It's reasonable to think that this could happen subconsciously, not just intentionally. Changeling bodies were focused entirely on consuming love. Now that changelings no longer need to do that, their bodies automatically change to adapt to their new circumstances. Their new bodies enable them to metabolize food, which in turn enables a body that requires more energy in exchange for being stronger and healthier. This transformation also signals a shift from the eusocial breeding system to the more common solitary reproduction. This could be because without the need to steal love, changelings have no need for the military power that eusociality provides, instead opting for the social structure provided by families. Alternatively, the change could be an intentional decision by the changelings after seeing their queen flee. However, Thorax's body shape indicates that he is meant to be the leader of the changelings, which could mean that their biology stopped needing a queen before Chrysalis made that decision. This conversion requires female changelings to develop reproductive organs and cells. A body is just a bunch of cells, so it's likely that changeling shapeshifting allows for the manipulation of cells. A more significant roadblock appears if my theory is correct that all female reformed changelings are trans. Changelings who originated as drones only have one set of chromosomes. Chromosomes are much smaller than cells, so chromosome manipulation would probably be very difficult to do intentionally. Sexual reproduction involves two sets of chromosomes, one from each parent, but not all species do this the same way. Because changelings are orenitocous, females have XX chromosomes and males have X chromosomes. Orenitoky is not exclusive to eusocial species, so I think this was preserved. Female changelings would take a set of chromosomes from each parent, and male changelings would only take a set from their mother.
For the moment, perhaps it is best that we leave the changeling kingdom to the changelings.
During this half-season period of non-communication, changeling society evolved to include families. With their new surplus of love, changelings began to enjoy each other's company and form relationships. Chrysalis's absence left young changelings with no one to raise them, so they assimilated into these families along with newly born children, bringing us to where they are today. Chrysalis is one of the two most evil characters in Friendship is Magic. Her desire for revenge controls her to an unnatural degree. She rejected her throne and abandoned her children to go live in the woods because the alternative would be to admit Starlight was right. After realizing friendship is useful and enjoyable, she rejects it simply because it reminds her of the hive she gave up. This is truly a person without any love. In Chrysalis's absence, the Changeling Hive went from a society of starving enslaved soldiers to a community where everyone finds joy in living. This is entirely due to Thorax finding a better way to live, and the other changelings following his example. To see why Thorax did this, we have to look at the age-old debate of nature versus nurture. Thorax was raised by Chrysalis the same way as all the other changelings, to be a soldier who steals love, but something fundamental in his nature made him averse to violence and theft.
But I'd never seen true friendship like that, and I couldn't just steal it and feed on its love. I wanted to share it.
Thorax made the choice to abandon all he knew, not only his home, but his only source of food, because he knew it wasn't right. Through this choice, he became the first changeling to discover friendship and led his species to salvation. Behold, your savior.
Oh, it's pretty.
Would you excuse me?